So, after watching 2 more episodes of the Cowboy Bebop Netflix live-action series, I think I've really pinpointed what it is specifically that rubs me the wrong way about this series. Something that is amplified within these 2 episodes more so than the first episode, but there's still like a thread line that goes through it all that I feel like it's coming together now. The more that I watch it, the more it's coming together, and the more I'm understanding what it is specifically that I don't like about it. I also put my background image to be Ayn from the anime because I just felt like we could use an adorable anime corgi to make us all feel better about this. But I gotta say that Ayn in the live-action series also did a pretty damn good job. I'd say probably the best actor of the entire series so far is Ayn. I would definitely give it up to him. Need more screen time of him within this live-action series. Absolutely. So I think the thing that really bugs me about this live-action series is, I understand, okay, you're making an adaptation of something, so you don't want to copy it over exactly. Now, the first episode did copy some scenes exact, like the opening of the film that we talked about, and the whole Asimov and the Red Eye stuff. Like, it's pretty much almost beat for beat what the first episode of the anime was. So I was curious if the rest of the series was going to go along with that route, but with the end tease of how they did Vicious in the first episode, it seems like this was planning to do something a little bit different, and it definitely is. And I understand when you're adapting something from, whether it's a manga or an anime or a comic, and you're turning it into live action, you got to do your own thing with it, right? You got to do your own storyline. Whereas, I don't know if this is the best example ever, but like the MCU, the Marvel movies, don't necessarily follow the Marvel comic books. They take the characters and put them within their own setting and do things their way, creating their own stories and creating their own plot lines as they go forward. But there's something that Cowboy Bebop does that I think throws that all out of whack, and that is you're changing the story, which I understand because it's a different medium, whatever, you're doing your own take on it, but this series is changing the story at the expense of the characters. And what do I mean by that? So when you take characters that are not yours, that are already established, that have their own specific personality traits and backstories and ways that they're going to go about doing things, accomplishing tasks, the way that they interact with each other, the character is a very specific entity. And if you take that character and you just completely change a lot of things that the characters are about or the characters are doing or motivations for the characters or who they're connected to, you no longer really have any semblance of that character. Now, you have the title of the series and you have a plot line that you're making up yourself, which, is fine for adapting something. I get that. But when you start doing it at the expense of the character, meaning that the characters are completely different or making completely different decisions than they naturally would, or taking away something that makes them who they are, taking away a core essence of what that character is and just rewriting them to basically be a different character with the same name. If that makes sense. That was really long-winded. This is off the cuff, by the way. I'm not scripting this video out. I'm just going off, man. I'm just gonna rant today. So completely off the cuff, unscripted. So I'm sorry if that doesn't make sense. But they're doing that with several characters in this series. Now, the main characters they got down. Like, I think Jet is fine, except they're changing things about him too. Not necessarily with his personality, but just about his life. I guess I'll go right into that. So why does Jet have a daughter? Why does Jet have a daughter? What decision was that? Why was that decision made? What does that add to the series? What does that add to his character other than giving you a different aspect about him that doesn't ring true to what Jet was in the original Cowboy Bebop? See, one of the greatest things about the original Cowboy Bebop is how all of these characters are very misfit characters at the end of the rope who's already, have gone through these big life-changing events and are sort of just people that probably would have been better off dying a long time ago but continue to live pretty much just for the sake of living. So a big part of that would be they don't have families. Being that Faye's family is long since passed because she was frozen, in time or frozen unthawed later in the future and whatnot, so everyone she knows, her entire family is gone. Not that she remembers it anyway. I don't really know how Faye is in this live action because she actually wasn't in episode 2 or 3, which was really surprising to me. But anyways, Spike doesn't have a family because he was in the Syndicate. The only person he loved was Julia, and now they're sort of like throwing that all out of whack. And I've seen things on social media saying that Julia is like, again, just a completely different character than she was in the series, just completely kind of like ruining who her character was. And Jet, of course, is sort of this old rundown, like he does things the old way. He does things by the book, the way that he grew up in the Force, working with the police force and everything, and he never had time for family. In fact, there's that one episode where he sort of he takes care of one of his friend's daughters, and they sort of have that like father-daughter connection, or that sort of like he performs that sort of older male mentor figure in her life. And you get the aspect of like, this might be what Jet would have been like if he were a father, or if he were able to have a daughter, but never did. And now the series is giving him a daughter, but it's not just like she's some estranged person. It's somebody that he goes to visit on random occasions and spends a whole episode looking to buy a doll for her. And it just like completely rips away from that loner type, like the old man, like with the brutal broken past, with the missing arm that, happened because of these dangerous circumstances that he was always in his entire life. And he doesn't really have anything to show for it at this point. He's just a bounty hunter trying to get by. Like, there's a deep sort of like depressive tragedy within Jet's life that now is just this regular cookie cutter plot of, he's estranged, his wife like went with another dude, and now he just wants to see his daughter on occasion. And like the dude was like so like just weird, goofy, douchey. He's got like this big old orange mustache, and he puts his arm around Jet's ex-wife, and he's like, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" It just was like, what am I watching? Is this Cowboy Bebop? Because it's unrecognizable to me at this point. Not to mention the fact, why does Jet's wife just all of a sudden live in like a regular suburban like 1990s home? Like, is this not supposed to take place in the future? Does this not take place in like 2071? And every other place has this weird rusted lived-in aesthetic of these sort of like futuristic world that they're in. But for some reason, Jet's family just lives in like a regular like middle class, 2-story house with like all of the furniture just looking like regular modern day. Like, I don't understand. Like, where does this take place? Does he live in some sort of alternate dimension? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand where, like, why this is here. There is enough like dynamic storytelling you can get out of Jet, the character, his past, his history, and everything that he went through. You don't need to give him a daughter in some weird like ex-wife, like estranged relationship. Like, it just, I don't understand why that's there. So moving on. Anyways, let's talk about the episodes themselves. So episode 2 actually begins with probably the best characters in the series, actually. There are 2 characters that represent the characters from Big Shot, which is the bounty hunter television series that the characters always watch to get their information on the next bounty head. And these 2 people were great. I don't have any complaints about this. In fact, of episode 2 and 3, I think this was the best part of the episode, besides Ein himself. The 2 actors doing the Big Shot characters, they were great. They were silly, goofy, the way they were supposed to be. In fact, actually, you know what? I just thought about this now. I feel like every situation and character in the Bebop series is acting goofy like the Big Shot characters. But the Big Shot characters are characters within the Cowboy Bebop universe, meaning they're actors playing these TV show hosts that are specifically meant to be exaggerated. But everybody in Cowboy Bebop is exaggerated as if they're from Big Shot, the TV series. I don't know. Is that blowing anyone else's mind? I don't know. I'm really tired today. So then we get this little plot line about Teddy Bomber, who they, again, completely botch within the series. Now, in the anime series, Teddy Bomber is from one of my favorite episodes called Cowboy Funk. It's a hilarious episode. It's one of the episodes that focuses more on comedy than anything else. And something really funny about the Teddy Bomber character is that he is this dude that is using teddy bears to set bombs in all of these big locations and whatnot. And all he wants is to be recognized as this sort of like terrorist and explain the reasons as to why he's doing what he's doing. The humor from that episode comes from the fact that you have Spike and then Andy, who is like literally dressed as like a cowboy, who are both bounty hunters after him. And every time they meet up, they start fighting with each other, and they completely ignore Teddy Bomber. So like he never gets to explain why he's doing what he's doing, because Spike and Andy are always fighting. So that's the humor from it. In this, we get no character from Teddy Bomber whatsoever. He's not in the episode at all, except very briefly in the beginning and at the end, where he does show up wearing the big teddy bear mask. But the joke is that he's trying to speak and they can't understand him, and they wind up like taking him out. So it's just like they throw him in there as like a nod to the series, but they don't go into anything that's actually like humorous or fun about the Teddy Bomber characters. So they're just basically throwing that in there for like name recognition and sort of like a, aha, see, I noticed that character, and then it's gone, right? And then the second plot of that episode is dealing with Julia and Vicious. And if there's any characters that truly suffer from the, like I said, changing the story at expense of the characters, it comes with Vicious and Julia. Now, at the end of the first episode, I said that the worst part of that was the introduction to Vicious, because I thought they made him look goony and weird and like dumb, and he made a really dumb decision in what he did, like just like killing one of his goons and whatnot. And Vicious, I'm not saying Vicious is like one of the greatest anime villains of all time or anything like that. I'm not going that far, but he does have a certain air of mystery and intimidation, and this strong, silent, deadly type where he sort of like works behind the scenes trying to overthrow this syndicate. And, his lines of dialogue, they're very poignant. They're very like, you shall shed tears of scarlet. Like the way that he speaks is, I guess you might consider it a little bit cheesy if you did it in live action, like exact, but it would not be nearly as cheesy as the villain that they gave us with Vicious. This Vicious is this dude that seems like he has no idea what he's doing whatsoever. He's with Julia, and in this version, Julia is supposed to be a member of the syndicate also, or at least heavily connected with them. And, the whole I'm not going to get into the whole backstory, but, like, she was supposed to go meet Spike, and Vicious told her to kill Spike, and she just chose to sort of disappear. But in this version, her and Vicious are, like, literally together, and she doesn't seem to be actually, like, involved with the syndicate. She seems to be just, like, his girlfriend. And I don't know, man. So that bugged me. There's this test of loyalty he has to do where the elders, which, by the way, they're not actually elders. They're just people wearing old man masks, which I granted the masks like look kind of cool, but that's not what it's supposed to be. And they like test his loyalty by having him go to shoot Julia, but then the gun's empty, so she knows that he would have taken her out if he had to. And it's this whole thing. And like like Vicious, the character, he's so like detached from shit like that in the anime. Like, yes, him and Julia had a past, and I'm sure that Julia moving on to Spike definitely bothered him, but I don't think it's not like the pushing motivational force of his character. And in this, they're making him really like like they're this power couple or whatever it is, and that he's like incapable of doing anything on his own, and then he's constantly mucking things up. And then by the end of episode 3, I just completely gave up on Vicious entirely. Like, they just made him too much of a cheesy, weird, like 80s villain. Like, he's not calm, he's not cool, he's not confident, he's not scary, he's not vicious. You know what I mean? And that's the extent of episode 2, except for one more thing that I really need to talk about. Okay, so this one might be a little controversial, but I'm going to try to explain my point to the best I can. Okay, so in the anime series, there's a character named Gren. Okay, and Gren shows up in episode 12 and 13. It's a two-parter that Gren is in. And he's playing saxophone at this nightclub. He meets Faye. And through the process of, helping Faye escape a bunch of like gang members and whatnot, he brings her back to his apartment. And Faye realizes a few things about him. Number one, she realizes that he has a history with Vicious, and to come to find out they were in a war together a long time ago. So they're old war buddies. And Vicious sold Gren out, and he wound up being taken prisoner. Now, he was also given an experimental drug which boosted the estrogen in his body, causing him to grow some tits. So Gren is a man with tits because of extra estrogen running through his body. Now, I did not realize that Gren was in episode 2 because there's no way that you would realize it except for his name being used. And I didn't realize this until afterwards, and somebody posted this in my Discord server. But this is Gren in the anime, and this is Gren in the live action. He is sort of the host of this nightclub that leads people in, sets them down to their table, whatever. Now, I'm not making any judgment about this actor or the flamboyancy of it, or, you know, whether this character or this person is gay or not gay or whatever they identify as sexually. None of that matters to me. What matters to me is character. And this is an extreme misrepresentation of that character. I think this is borderline offensive because it seems like they took the idea that Gren, because of this situation and because of his body, automatically means that Gren is this like flamboyant homosexual character. And that's not who that character is. And if you're going to put a character like this in the series, why not just make that character? Why take the name of an already established character that's important to the storyline of those episodes and then just like slap the name onto this character? And it looks like a pandering sense of giving representation when really you could just give the representation without changing the character. Like, just make a new character. I don't understand. And so that means we're taking away all of Gren's backstory. Does that mean we're not going to do, you know, Vicious and him were never in a war together? That means that his story's never going to happen, that he's never going to meet up with Faye, and we're never going to have anything like that happens in the anime. See, that bothers me. That bothers me because I loved Gren. I love Gren as a character. Episodes 12 and 13 are like some of my favorites of the entire anime. And again, I get that the story is going to be different because it's a different medium, but the story should not be different at the expense of character. That's my whole point of this entire video. But I know that some people are going to take that the wrong way and say that I'm being offensive or something, and that's not the case. And anybody that knows me, like really knows me, knows that that's not the case. But I'm passionate about Cowboy Bebop. You know, like I'm not thinking of this in terms of anything else other than Cowboy Bebop. And what I am seeing is not Cowboy Bebop. So that's it. Anyways, so episode 3 is a subtle remake of Stray Dog Strut, which is episode 2 of the anime, which is the introduction of Ain. Except in this, we don't really get any sense. So even the dog, yeah, even Ain, they're sort of changing. We don't get any sense that he's some sort of like intelligent data dog that is prevalent in the anime. And even Abdul Hakim, which is the character that abducts the dog, in this, we never even get to see him in his full glory, only in one scene. You know, he's this like super tall dude, like with an afro. He sort of, comes out of that like 70s era, with his look and his style. And he's like a formidable force for Spike, to fight in hand-to-hand combat because the dude is just like freaking gigantic. And in this, we don't get that. That's like a mask that, he's wearing half the time. He looks like this instead. So that's a little bit useless. And then, that's the whole episode that has the Jet daughter thing. And I already talked about that. And then at the end of the episode, Spike, with a sniper rifle up on top of a building, confronts Vicious and could totally kill him, but doesn't for some reason. And we see Vicious again being like a scared, sort of like panicked, whiny character, as opposed to his calm, cool, confident self where he's talking on the phone to Spike. And like Vicious should have this all like mapped out in his head. He should either know Spike's upcoming move or just be so like nonchalant about it. Like, I know you're not going to do anything, Spike, because you're the kind of person that would want this face to face. Like just changing a little bit of dialogue could have made Vicious seem so much more badass than he was, but that's not what he was. So we have Vicious, Julia, Gren, Teddy Bomber, Abdul Hakim. Who else? Tons of characters that have been completely changed and completely rewritten to not even match anything to do with their character. Giving, Jet a daughter is a whole different aspect of his character that takes away from the old loner type that Jet. So yeah, so those are I've watched 3 episodes now, and I don't think I can go any further. I really, really don't. Part of me wanted to watch this whole thing, but I just don't think that I'm going to be able to do it. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about episodes 2 and 3 of the live action Netflix series. Put all your thoughts, comments down below. Anything you have to say about it, let me know. If you do enjoy it, and you think that I'm just crazy or just talking out of my ass, you can let me know that as well too. We can have a conversation about it. I'm not hating on anybody that likes it. If you like it, that's totally cool. Enjoy it. That's your thing. And as my buddy Mouse pointed out, perhaps this is a way that's going to get new eyeballs onto the anime anyways. They might get introduced through Cowboy Bebop this way. Check it out, and then go back and check out the original and like it a lot more. So I don't know, man. But anyways, other than that, guys, I don't want this video to go on too long, so thanks a lot for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stick around and see some more content. I'd really like to hope to get to 75K by the end of the year. I don't think that's possible, but it'd be really cool if you help me try. So appreciate it, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.